the more or less 89.9% of the hauntings that afflict particular families were brought upon by themselves. So it's not the Lord's job to what's the word I want? Reconcile that situation. It's that family's. So, I mean, are there other reasons why you might want to keep the ghosts around, even if there aren't that many that are actively harmful? But
here's the thing: with Kelvin gone and his knowledge, there's this sneaking suspicion that we don't know what's tied to the wards, or we don't know what's really important. And in the same way as you wouldn't want to go, what was that Jim Croce thing? Tug on Superman's cape,
right?
You don't know which thing that, if you disturb it, is going to be really problematic for what we have right now, and we don't know what things are going to interfere with that elven thing that keeps the whole city from collapsing into the honeycombed pit underneath it. And yes, you have Laurel and Elminster at the moment both on site, so they theoretically could unravel it. But the darned humans of this very, very, very busy city will never leave them alone long enough to concentrate on anything like that. There's always somebody trying to do something that they have to deal with. So they don't deal with something like that, which is just fine if you don't disturb it. It's the old argument, well, if you have asbestos in your walls and you just leave it alone, you're fine. It's when you start disturbing it that bad things happen. So let's not disturb it. And the ghosts are... the other thing is, people... If the ghost is not dangerous or really scary, people sort of get proud of it. It's a local landmark. It's part, they're going to be upset if you do something about it. What else are you going to change when our backs are turned? No, seriously.
Well, and also, let's face it. Really? I mean, they're a draw for any tavern with a ghost. I mean, a thirsty throat from the box set is one I'd forgotten. Old Hook is in there.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, Kelvin's knowledge isn't gone. It's still in Blackstaff Tower.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's not really accessible.
Yeah, and no, I just meant that Vajra doesn't have it at her fingertips at all. The current Blackstaff.
Not until she asked for it. No.
Yeah.
But it's probably more like there are as many, if not more, spells, wards, or long-lasting magical effects on the city that Kelvin laid down as Agarin laid down. And since those are still stable, despite everything, it is definitely don't tug on anything you don't know what's going to unravel. That's right. So I'm trying to remember what's the status quo on the City of the Dead now, because the last I did any deep reading, it was for the 4th edition novels, and so it was a different animal then. But
there were times in the novels where you would be driven mad if you got locked in the City of the Dead overnight. And that was in some of the novels. But we did have lore mentions, I know because I put some of them there, of various people going in after that, and including the Watchful Order Magists in an organized fashion, and sort of binding some of the undead so that they were a bit less active at night. They couldn't actually attack people who'd made it to the gates and were clinging to the gates on the inside. They couldn't drag them back away screaming to be turned into mindless vegetables during the night. The dead were being put under slightly more stringent bindings, as in bound to where their crypts were, so they couldn't wander as far and stuff like that. Because remember, during the day, you actually have people strolling and having picnic lunches there.
Oh, yeah.
and having business meetings, because it's a good place to get where people can't overhear you, or at least you can see them coming near, so you can have business chats.
Yeah.
So you have that during the day, although I get the fictional need to make it scarier, I would think that would be something that the city would deal with in the long run.
So,
Mhm.
but isn't the City of the Dead locked up at night?
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, and there are standing guards
Right.
at the
Yeah.
gates.
So anybody going in there have to be clandestine, right?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
because the thing about the City of the Dead is, most of those tombs couldn't possibly contain all the people, the guild members and so on, who have the right to be in them when they're dead. So they are dimensional portals for the actual interments. So you walk into the thing and there's a wall full of, it looks like a crematorium with little niches, but they all lead into extra dimensional spaces. And what you don't want at night is various untrustworthy types using those for smuggling or money transfers, or and you just don't have or at certain points in the city's history, didn't have the manpower, woman power, person power, trained officer power,
Right.
and the city watch to deal with all that at night. So it was easier to just lock the place.
I know that there. I'm trying to remember if some of those extra dimensional spaces got lost or redirected or merged together during the spell plague and afterwards, but
there was one novel that had some of them doing hanky-panky stuff in the novel. But
Yeah,
yes,
I remember that.
And of course, they were briefly featured in the illustrated game book Night of the Living Dead with the George Barr illustrated.
That was first edition. That was a great story.
Yeah.
And because Rosemary Jones, I think, did the City of the Dead.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was some good stuff.
Yeah, it was.
And if you need a ghost you can laugh at or you want to laugh at, I have one that ties to Northward and Undercliff, if you want.
What's that?
And it ties from Halaster's High Harvestide, one of the earliest gates that pops out of Undermountain to disgorge all the monsters. And this was, oh gosh, High Harvestide 1369. Well, if you look at the walls around the City of the Dead, the northeasternmost tower, right at the cliff's edge, there is a gate attached to that. Now, luckily, for whatever reason, the gate opened to the east. So when all I got to find my note on that. It was a specific name of a specific tribe. Ah, yes, the Red Wing Charge. Right at dawn on on Harvesttide, you might hear the war whoop right at dawn of the 200-odd orcs of the Red Wing tribe that will exit the gate, get perhaps one step, and then they fall over the cliff. So, there's a reason why the spot right below that is not inhabited in Undercliff. Because it's noisy one morning of the year, and it's very disconcerting as you hear this growing roar of 200 orcs roaring or screaming as they're rushing towards your hovel down there.
Well, there is a farm down there.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
It's good for the soil.
Yeah.
Orc blood is good for the crops, right?
Yeah. So.
We're politically correct. No, never mind.
Oh, goodness. So, what else? I'm trying to figure out. I've got a bunch of other stuff that I never did a great amount of detail on the City of the Dead. I would love to write more about another time, but
We'd love to have more on the city.
yeah.
Yeah, so get going. Come on,
yeah,
man.
come
right
on.
now. No,
Yeah.
What are you doing sitting there, Steven? Come on.
Yeah, geez.
Well, I was gonna get. Do you want a wandering ghostly presence that can help?
Yeah.
Tied to a noble family and to a church.
If you must.
I'm trying. Did you create Lady Faluna Moonstar, or did I? She's a name that pops up from the box set, and she was a werecat and acolyte. She was gifted. She was tied up and trapped in the sewers beneath Waterdeep, and begged Selune for aid, and she got turned into a werecat, so she could shrink to regular cat size, get out of her bonds, and so forth.
Sounds kinky. Must be yours.
Yeah, well, that was 100-odd years ago. So, in any case, Lady Faluna is no longer with us physically, but there are those under the light of the full moon and within 20 miles of the city or inside. Anyone who calls for aid and is outnumbered by foes or hindered in movement may get Faluna's gift, which is their eyes, whatever color they are, will shift to what's my, I have a particular phrase here that she had cat's eyes rather than human eyes, and they are the color of sunlit emeralds.
Ooh.
So that's a cue. Anybody who gets this gift temporarily is able to shift into the form of a cat to escape any bonds. They might gain temporary claws as per a werecat. They would possibly get enhanced agility or strength, or at least to match her strength and agility, which, were 15 and 19, if you want to be, gamies about it. But she died in 1448 as one of the called of the House of the Moon. She is interred beneath the House of the Moon despite being a moon star. They still had influence and money at the time, so she has one of the nicer sarcophagi beneath the House of the Moon.
Here it is right here off of Diamond Street.
Okay.
House of the Moon right here.
So, yes, there are at least 7 bard songs of some renown from the 14th and 15th centuries that talk about her eyes or her deeds with the House of the Moon or with the moon stars. She's actually she was a missionary for Selune and traveled even as far south as the Kalim Desert or as far east as Silvery Moon. She married and moved to Neverwinter for several decades, but returned to Waterdeep after her children grew up and left home, and that's where she died after I think I wrote of heart stop, I believe is your phrase for it.
Yeah, heart stop. Yeah.
Yep.
Heart attack.
Well, we don't know. You see, that's the thing. Her heart just stopped. There are all sorts of reasons. Medicine isn't that advanced in that they're okay with autopsies. They're not okay with going in while the person's still alive and looking around.
That's true.
Yep. Now, I have a note here that says, publicly, yes, she died of heart stop. Privately, she and some of other Selunes called were battling a group of greater doppelgangers trying to restore the unseen to power in the city. I don't have an answer as to exactly whether they succeeded or not, but she died from that battle. So
whether they stopped it and she died, or she died and they kept going.
Yep, that's up to however you want that to go.
Yeah, that depends on how many unseen you want to have at your elbow.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm still crabby with Eric for having killed off my favorite lord of the city and replacing him with a doppelganger.
No,
Yeah.
can it be worse than killing off the black staff?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't like it at the time, but in retrospect, it was a better choice than leaving him alive.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So,
It was written so well, Steve, and I'm still crabby
aw,
over that one.
thank you, but yeah. Well, he's still around in his own irascible ways, at least part of him. So,
Well, and do we see any in the future? Do we see any hauntings by the spirit or the essence of the black staff?
I would say no because there's enough of his spirit is templated in two different towers,
Mm-hmm.
in Blackstaff Tower and in the Blackstaff Tower that's in Rymanthine. So I'd say that's more than enough of him to talk to if you need to talk to him.
Okay,
I
so
wouldn't.
if you are talking to him, will he appear or just as a disembodied voice, or in your dreams or something like that?
Well, he will not appear outside of Blackstaff Tower.
We're back
No,
to
I'm
the
saying if you're in the
romance. In
tower,
your
If
dreams.
you're in the tower, he will appear to you as much as he feels he needs to. If you need a talking to, he may show up and you may get glared at by a pair of floating eyes. It could be however you want to do it.
Just a big
If
stick.
you want to have him be in a good mood, he can be sitting there as his illusionary self, painting a painting.
Right. Okay.
What's
I
that?
mean,
Bob
just to give
Ross?
Bob Ross. Let's say, we got some happy little orcs living over here on the side. We have happy little orcs falling to their death.
Oh dear.
Oh, look at this one splattered on the rocks below. He's so cute. Look at that. Brains everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for DMs that are going to be maybe, if they want to give something to a player who's seeking knowledge or something, but they would definitely have to be in Blackstaff Tower, one of the areas for them to get any kind of information from the Blackstaff.
Yeah, and let's face it, it's there are 8 other spirits in that tower, and you'd have to be a pretty important little NPC or PC to draw his attention, because
Right.
he's going to be busy doing whatever it is he wants to do, and now that he's no emotions, he's just all head. He's just going to be doing what he feels necessary, and that's
Right.
got to drive whoever is the living Blackstaff out of her freaking mind. So,
Of course.
Okay, let's go. Let's contrast Kelvin Blackstaff by going to the other end of Waterdeep's panoply of residents. So,
where are we going?
sometime-
What area?
Well, here's the thing: it's everywhere. Everywhere, he's everywhere. No, okay.
savoir faire.
So, sometime in the 1420s DR, a slain and replaced Xanathar started to appear in the dreams of certain Waterdavians as a ghostly beholder who whispered to them of where treasure was hidden and which criminal in the city was going to do what and when. This haunt has now progressed to appearing as a translucent, momentarily seen phantom that all folk who are awake in a particular room or spot on the street can see and hear. What it says makes it clear that it isn't relating warnings and information from the past, but current lore. So, it can spy on what's happening with the current Xanathar and its underlings right now.
Ooh.
Andy?
And the idea,
So-
do we have any idea who it could just be anybody that he appears to or whispers to, or is it specific people?
Oh, it's specific people from the Phantom's point of view, but they could be anybody. Because if he thinks that this particular being is going to be in the way of something or is best placed to deal with something, they may have no idea of their own importance, if you see what I mean. They may just be the person who's about to get run over.
Ah, okay. So, all right.
Okay.
So a DM could incorporate that into their campaign. Then is what I'm.
For
Oh,
sure.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, anywhere. And you with anybody, whether they want it or not.
Or not. And it doesn't have to be specific. It can just be occasionally the DM lets them know that's hey, this character here's been having this dream of a phantom beholder whispering sweet nothings into their ear at
Yeah,
night.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Have you checked?
Excuse
What's
me.
that beginning of 2010, the year we make contact? Have you checked the orbit?
The orbit.
And he goes, "What are you talking about? Oh, this is very bad for my asthma," and just leaves. Goes, what are you talking about? So I mean, it could be something that totally takes the person by surprise. They had no idea, and they know what a beholder is from people talking about them in taverns and so on. So they're scared, all right.
Right.
But it could be just, oh, I was having a nightmare. I was dreaming of a beholder, for all the God's sake. I don't know why. And then the beholder spoke to me about you. And